Hey guys, thanks for joining in. I think Nikki will come by. I think I'm not exactly sure he is, but he'll come by. But we may as well get started, I guess. So yeah, I mean, thanks everyone for your questions and for listening in. I know it's not a good time for the US, but it's a good time for Europe and Australia. So again, stuff the US, but we'll organize some more US time friendly ones soon, especially because we'll be doing some AMAs likely with Glacier, obviously the Frozen Walrus guys, and possibly as well with Only Burns. They'll probably those ones will have to be US time, US evening, probably something like that. We'll figure something out, but yeah, um, yeah. Anyway, we'll get started on the questions, and then we'll talk a little bit about the regular grape stuff and whatnot. Um, yeah, first question from Disco Chuck. Need disco, nice. He's asking since the Enoteca will be rewards per second, could there be an OP skill tool that modifies the RPS akin to how a tool multiplies a vintner's output? That's actually an interesting idea. I think we I think that we would definitely want to do. We're definitely working on some upgrades now for the game, which we're also figuring out how to tie it into the current game, because we also want to focus quite a bit more on the game this coming year or this year that we're in right now, and then but that involves a lot. Adding a lot, basically reworking the entire game is what we want to do. But things like the staking for the LP, the seller, and the general idea of the game will still stay the same. But things like reward multipliers and things like that is definitely something that would be definitely cool to add in. But we don't want to make things too overpowered. You know what I mean? I think that's what you mean by OP. But yeah, you don't want things to be too overpowered because then it's just kind of a loophole within the game and kind of just ruins a bit of the fun of the game and things like that. So there's always a bit of a balancing act with games. You see this all the time with games in the normal world, the real world, not the crypto world, where games are always rebalancing stuff because it's hard to balance it from the beginning. But so that's another thing as well. We always try to keep things balanced, just to kind of make it a little bit more fair and kind of fun to play as well. It's kind of the thing of it's fun to play on God mode in a game for like 5 minutes. It's fun and it's cool for like 5 minutes, and then after that, it's like you know, it's kind of it gets kind of boring. So it's a similar idea. But yeah, um, that's definitely would be cool. Something that boosts rewards as a skill would be pretty cool, I think. Crypto Yeo 7 is asking, what are the future plans for Grape as a token? Anything coming down the pipeline or the pipe to help with buy pressure? Some other form of staking, perhaps? And thanks, team, for everything you're doing. Well, thank you for your feedback and your questions, obviously. But yeah, I mean, I'm actually glad that we've migrated nodes now. That was kind of a bit of a pain point. There's unfortunately no good way to do it because we limited to what we can work with what's in the contract and whatnot. We did obviously supplement with vintage because there wasn't enough in the contract, so we did have to supplement rewards with vintage and everything else that the DAO had accumulated in terms of LP and whatnot from raising over time. So that's I mean it's but I'm glad it's done, really, is the thing, is because obviously they worked well for a few months. They did really well when they were launched, and for the few months we were above peg and whatnot, they were doing fantastic. But market hit us bad. The mechanics of nodes themselves are not really designed for sustainability. So you know it's good that they've been migrated to the presses, which are much more sustainable, and then they have much less Ponzinomics, so to say. Obviously, the rewards are not 1% a day for life, but you can't have that and then have sustainability. It's doesn't work like that. But the presses are a good migration. I don't think we'll need to do anything with the presses, to be honest. I feel very comfortable with the presses being running. I don't have to manage them. I don't have to tweak rewards, things like that. I don't have to worry about migrations and things like that, because I just know that they'll just work. So I'm pleased with that. But in terms of what's future for Grape, obviously we're working on a bit of a roadmap too for this year. Now that we've kind of tied up some loose ends again with the nodes, as I was saying, but obviously Vinium is a big thing for us this year, and winemaker as well. And Grape will be very closely tied to winemaker as well. So we want to obviously utilize the token and LPs in the game a bit more as well. And also, we have some interesting opportunities coming up with things that we want to do, such as overhaul a bit of the casino as well. We're getting a bit of a white labeled opportunity there to offer our own sort of multi-chain multi-chain casino opportunity there, and Grape will be implemented in that very closely, in a way that doesn't, it's not just limited to just a couple games and things like that. It's more options, and as well, possibly future option. I know I mentioned this before, is implementing Grape as a collateralized stablecoin on Vinium, and that is still an idea. It's a little bit technically challenging, not necessarily because of the way it would function, but more so about a migration plan to deal with it. So I mean, that's still an option, and as well, it's a technical challenge for Vinium itself to manage that liquidity as a collateralized, like a CDP, collateralized debt position platform like MIM, so to say, rather than like Aave, which is technically what Vinium is now, which is not having to worry about have a token that's your stablecoin that then you have to manage liquidity for and incentivize that for, and then manage the peg for that too, which is easier than an algorithmic stablecoin for sure, but it is also difficult. We've seen things like Vesta on Arbitrum suffer from peg issues a little bit, even though they are fully collateralized. Things like there was one on, totally forgot the one on AVAX. They've been around for a while, but they were below peg for a while too, and they're fully collateralized too. And it just comes down to liquidity. If you don't have good liquidity, then I'm talking millions of dollars of liquidity, then the use case of that token is very limited, because really the use case of those tokens is for leverage. So the idea is to borrow, sell the token, and then borrow again and continue to sell it. So if you don't have good liquidity, then that selling just leads to peg loss. So that's like maybe an idea for the future to lock in, but not a direct priority for Vinium right now, because we still have a lot of things to do with Vinium before we even think about doing a stablecoin that we mint as part of it, which I think would be a really cool feature, by the way. But we need to focus on some other things first. But in the meantime, I mean, Grape can function as is right now, without that anyway, and that can always be migrated to later on when it's ready. So for the meantime, we'll be focusing on Grape integration with more of our casino that we're going to launch. We've already launched, but kind of relaunch with better utility, better games, and Winemaker as well, which we're going to totally revamp and work a bit closer with Grape too. And obviously, it's still a seniorage token. So if it does go above $1 again, then it will print again. That's a feature that I would like to keep. To be honest, I think it's a cool, like, little extra thing to keep in there to kind of have it have a price ceiling almost, but reward shareholders with seniorage if we do get above there due to buying pressure. So yeah, um, Sam21 is asking, hello, lots of beeza, lots of boobieza. Crazy, these guys, you guys with your memes. I love memes though. Any chance we could partner up with Defender Finance at Tomb Fork? It's a Tomb Fork inspired by DexFi and EMP. Well, I mean, obviously I like DexFi and EMP. They're good teams. I haven't heard of Defender Finance though. To be honest, I haven't really been in, like, the Tomb Fork game recently. As in, like looking around for other Tomb Forks or even degen projects, to be honest. But I mean, I can check them out and see what's going on. So yeah, maybe. I don't know what we'd partner with though, but yeah, I'll check it out. I'll see. Crypto Yeo 7 is asking, would Grape Finance or maybe Winemaker as a standalone be open to changing blockchains? A gasless blockchain could be beneficial to winemaking in particular. I'm sure that's something easier said than done though. Yeah. No, definitely. I agree with that. Definitely, because I see a lot of. I understand with winemaker there are a lot of transactions, especially with the unstake restake, and you're dealing with a lot of NFTs, and that has a lot of gas behind it. And during periods of low use on the chain and periods where the token is like cheap, then it's okay. Like you can get by. When AVAX was like $11, $12, $10, like it's not too bad. But now it's doubled in price in a short period of time. It effectively doubles the cost of the gas in US dollars, and then come back to maybe AVAX in a bull market is $150 again. It's pretty expensive. So yeah, fully get that, and I think that's an issue for all games on chain, with a lot of on chain. So really, there's a couple ways we can do it, and I think this is definitely a problem we want to solve with the game too. But there's a couple ways we can solve it. Obviously, there's ways where you limit how many transactions you actually have to do on chain, and then other things inside the game you sort of do more on the UI side, or you have a database hosted that's not on chain that you don't actually need to send to the chain, or you even batch transactions, things like that. But obviously you also have subnets. You still need to pay gas on subnets, but we can make the token be the game token for gas, so it's technically part of the game. And then it would be cheaper as well, obviously, because we don't have to deal with gas hikes and things like that, because we'd be the only people using the actual subnet. So that's obviously a good use case for subnets. And there are gasless chains too. The issue is we'd want to be on a chain where obviously it's easy to get to, people know about it, and people can access that chain easily. They can bridge to that chain easily. So that's technically another thing. I know IMX has, I mean, they're gaming focused chain basically. I think they offer gasless features too. And subnets as well, but there's a few ways we can go about it, and we have to weigh them up and figure out which is a good way. But it's coming to a point now where we're working on the game and sort of revamping the whole thing, and once we do that, then the next relaunch will be on technically one of those, we'll implement one of those solutions, because it's definitely something that we want to do to make less cost prohibitive for players, because it is also a terrible UX thing. I mean, get someone that has never done any DeFi before, and then tell them, you want to play this game. Well, yeah, now you have to learn, MetaMask or some wallet setup. You have to also get some gas token. Like, what the hell's gas? And you have to pay for every transaction. Like, man, it's just too much. So that's another issue with the whole UX of DeFi specifically. Um, yeah, well, MacGyver 7th, the MacGyver 7th, nice, is asking, hello, due to AVAX gas beings being taxing for everyday compounding in Solera Press, I'll harvest till about 3 to 4k tokens of vintage, then turn it into S vintage, followed by depositing into the Solera Press. This will trigger an auto compound, saving some gas on a re-roll and deposit in one shoot. Yep. Today I logged on, noticing that my rewards had reset to around 100 LPs. What day was that? The 4th. In my time. Yesterday was sitting over a few thousand LPs. Also, my daily rewards shot up. Which leads me to one question. If the Solera Press has an auto compound trigger when a certain level is hit with your LP ratio, this would be pretty cool. If so, I could save on gas and build up more vintage from the winemaker gain deposit in the Solera Press. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have an auto compound trigger. I'm pretty sure what that would have been is me depositing 4 people from the nodes into the Solera Press. And when you deposit, it auto compounds by default if you have pending shares. And so I get, the one of the issues with contracts on chain in particular is that contracts can't interact by themselves. They can't interact with themselves by themselves. You need an address. You need some address to interact with the functions on the contract to get the contract to do things. So that's why we use things like Gelato to tick over the boardroom, for example, every epoch. Obviously, anyone can do that too. You can just click the function on the contract. But if we didn't run Gelato, if we didn't run some bot to do that, then it would actually never tick over. So that's kind of a limitation of how the EVM works. I think they are bringing some account abstraction upgrade for Ethereum that may actually fix that, or offer a solution to that. But I don't know if because we're on AVAX C chain, I don't know if that is if they will implement that upgrade too. Maybe down the line, I don't know. But the idea is that there always needs to be someone paying the gas to do any transaction. So an auto compound, someone would need to pay that gas, and I don't think there's a function on the contract to make it so that someone can auto compound for you unless they deposit tokens for you. That may be a loophole actually, where the admin can deposit like one way or something like that to auto compound you, and maybe we have something like that, some workaround where we have a bot that you can pay, and then it deposits it, like it triggers an auto compound for you, using a deposit basically. But it's a little bit of a like a workaround for that to go ahead. Then he's asking, my follow-up question to this: is there any drawbacks to this if an auto compound is present? Like, for example, will it affect your remaining shares tokens? What I'm a little confused on, how that system works, since my deposits and compounds balances add up together twice the amount of remaining shares tokens. see, did I get that? Any drawbacks to this if an auto compound is present? No, I mean you can compound at any time. It doesn't impact anything.
Hello, and I'm sorry.
Hey, how you going?
Uh, I'm all right. I saw your message, and I myself apparently got confused by a day later.
Yeah, yeah, a little bit confusing.
Man, I even said to double check the time. Damn it!
Oh well, no
I'm
worries.
so I'm so sorry. Where are we?
I was just
Where?
answering MacGyver's seventh question. It's the last bit of
All
it.
right. I'll
Uh,
go and look it up.
yeah, I think. I mean, just to finish that off, I think he's asking, if auto compounding, if there is an auto compound, which we mentioned that there would need to be someone needs to pay the gas basically for any function, which is also an auto compound is a function. So, but you can auto compound it at any time. In the Solera and Soda Press, it does boost the return on your shares. So you get those shares at a quicker rate back to you. And then obviously the compounding as well in the presses makes it so that if you do get close to 350% return there, you can compound, which will add to your tracked amount, and the tracked amount is what assassins use to determine whether you're eligible for assassination or not. So that's also another thing. So in other words, you can basically just stay in the pool indefinitely forever if you just compound at least before you get the 350%, and that will just keep you in the pool, which is kind of the idea there. I think that answers the question. If not, you can let me know.
Yeah, you can say it in the live chat,
Hmm.
or ask it again for
Yeah.
next AMA. All right, so that was MacGyver 7th. Jumping right in here, then we go to Hey Pa, or Hey Pa. Is it your father? Or I don't know. Anyway, he's got 500 notes, which is a lot. Hey there, Leroy Brown. Have you all talked, Leroy? Have you all talked with the folks at Swap School about how us grapes can still get those pops rewards now that the notes are gone and the vineyard is no longer printing?
Yeah, I still have to talk to Brian about that, but at the same time, we it's like an extra card for us. At this time right now, we don't have a real push to incentivize liquidity more than the presses do. But when we do, then yeah, we will definitely pull out use all the cards that we have, which is Swapsicle, our good friends there, and obviously as well, we'll be getting some Glacier that we can use for um, there's the solidly version there where we can is very good to incentivize liquidity too in. So we definitely have options to do it, and we will do it when it makes really good sense for us to do it.
All right. By the way, if in your Europe tour, you're going to visit Brian, then let me know. Might pop by.
I
Um,
think I think he's in the US. The last I saw.
is
I mean,
he?
the rest of the team is from the
Oh
UK, I
yeah,
think.
Brian. Brian is in the US. Yeah, I'm
Yeah, yeah,
sorry. I was. The rest of the team is in the UK. Yeah, the US is a bit far. All
yeah.
right. Neat Grape is saying this isn't a question. Oh, all right. But just want to say massive thank you to LB for everything around the node migration. You can never please everybody, especially those who just feel entitled. But I appreciate what you and the team did. Excited to see what the presses do in the coming months. Yeah, well, thank you so much, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. I mean, yeah, it's I talked about this in the beginning, but it's you know it's difficult migration to please people there. It's basically damned if you do, damned if you don't, because we could only work with what we have, and unfortunately, that's probably not what people expect. But I'm also glad that it's done and that we can move on.
Yeah, too. The thing is with these nodes is it is in the way that they function that they need new entries.
Hmm.
And yeah, so at some point, if you migrate them, if you change them, and well, new entries have been lacking, you just can't can't you know
Yeah,
uh, make something out of thin air. It's impossible.
yeah, yeah.
All right. Moving on to back to questions. This also need grape. Hey, lavish bungalow. Out of interest, why did you choose to pack grape to mim rather than die?
Yeah, well, I think back when we started in January, or when we're sort of making the thing, obviously MIM was much larger, especially on AVAX, mainly because of Wonderland time. Um, but I always liked the idea of MIM, um, and it's sort of degen-esque way where it's really used for leverage, and they have the degen box, and they have different different collaterals, and it's much more diverse collaterals too. Whereas Dai has started out pretty decentralized, but then moved to basically just being USDC, which is fine, but you know I don't know, may as well just use USDC then, which is also fine. But MIM I think is a little bit more fits with the theme of it's magic internet money. It's like sort of degen as well. It's like a really
Yeah.
crypto focused, DeFi focused sort of thing. It's a shame that it was so tied to Wonderland after it collapsed, because we obviously started this before Wonderland collapsed, so it was still totally fine back then. They had a lot of liquidity on AVAX too, but even still through all of that, Mim has obviously lost peg a few times, but recovered all of those times. Um,
Yeah.
so it's very sturdy. It works as intended.
Yeah, I think mim is definitely a good one. It's tied to Abracadabra rather than Wonderland,
Yeah,
luckily.
yeah,
It was just that Wonderland was, of course, the same team as Abracadabra,
hmm
so they used Mim to be leveraging, and as such, when it collapsed, a lot of people who were leveraging were selling off Mim at a rapid rate.
mm,
But it's still Abracadabra is still functioning fine, and it's also much safer play than anything
mm,
else. So I wouldn't say it's bad at all. It's just that liquidity is a bit low right now.
mm.
That's all.
Yeah, yeah,
But other than that, it's a fine token. It's doing well. And as to Die, yeah, that team, of course, was attacking Die. I think I remember them saying, Danielle Sesta even said, "Die, which we hate," like,
yeah.
which is quite strong, I would say. But they were
uh,
competitors.
yeah, yeah.
But that was the tribalism that we were going through back then, and making a choice for one was definitely not making the choice for the other. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I suppose I hope we grew over that a little right now. I'm not sure, but I hope that DeFi has grown over that tribalism a bit. Um, but yeah, I do agree with you. DAI has moved on to being basically USDC and some other stables, whereas DAI actually still has the collateral of all of the blue chip tokens and everything. I think
Yeah,
that's a
yeah.
lot
They got the
cooler. It's a lot
cool
more DeFi.
degen box. I mean, they just released
Yeah.
the GLP degen box too,
Oh, really?
which filled up
Nice.
very quick. So I like the general idea of MIM, which is really for leverage, but designed
Yeah.
specifically for it. Um, and I don't know, just fit well. I like the theme too. I think it looks cool.
It really suited what we had then, which was the 8-bit team
Yeah,
theme,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
They had that too with the wizard and everything. I don't know if they still have it. I haven't been there in ages, but they they had this
yeah.
all. 8-bit thing with the coins and everything. It was great. Um, all right. Dirk OS says, thanks to Likes Books and team for the smoothness of the node migration. Um, uh, uh, there you go. And the wine collection NFTs are still famous for minting out rapidly back in the day. Yeah, they were great. And they're gonna be great, I reckon. It's just,
Hmm.
you know, we just have to, we need some upwind. LB, as previously mentioned, looking at ways to collateralize the winery collection NFTs in Vinium. So, question one, interested to know the mechanisms for collateralizing TWC, the winery collection NFTs, and if it's to be included in the updated roadmap. As NFTs continue to grow in fashion, art, and gaming, we may see their use grow in other unsuspected areas in the coming years. On the subject of the winery collection NFTs, last AMAs have mentioned further use cases for the winery collection NFTs.
Yeah, I
That's
think
question one.
yeah, we will. I mean, it's already still part of the Vinium roadmap is to have a NFT lending and borrowing functionality, um, and that includes both things more like a blue chip tokens where you have more, more blue chip collections where you have things like the bored apes or the punks where you have a, an oracle that can manage the price, and then you have like liquidations and things like that. But then there's also, because most NFTs are not like that. You know, for example, the winery collection. So we also have the sort of it's kind of like peer-to-peer, but it's more pool-based, isolated lending where um, you know there's offers for certain collections, and people can lend and borrow against them, usually for pretty good rates too, as in um, you can earn pretty decent yield from putting your liquidity up or putting your NFTs up as well and borrowing against them. Um, and there's a couple platforms like this. None on Avalanche though, to be honest, which is kind of funny considering that there's
Not
actually
yet, no.
yeah, there's I'm surprised because there's actually a lot of there's a decent amount of NFT you know collections on AVAX,
Mhm.
but that's something for us to do then. But yeah, I mean it is included on the Vinium roadmap. Obviously, we're initially focusing on the tokens specifically, but then um, NFTs too for sure. And yeah, I definitely agree. NFTs will be used more in the future, not just for art and things like that, where they have been initially. More for I see them used for financial positions to represent even to represent a user per se users positions multiple positions in one NFT, things like that. And um, you know we've seen, for example, things like real estate being put into NFTs, and then that being a good way to store it on the chain, which I think is a good way to store it on the chain. So I think we'll see a lot of real world assets and other financial products come to the chain, come on chain through NFTs. So yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's also why we want to do have NFT lending, because that's kind of where I think we're going to go, and there'll be a big thing for NFTs. And
yeah,
yeah, I think with the winery collection right now, obviously, the main use when we launched them was obviously node rewards, and we gave out quite a lot of rewards for them. But they're always, they're always part of the VIP collection of grapes. So, in other words, they'll always be implemented into some way in grape in the future, and that includes, things like winemaker too, and possibly Vinium as well, depending on what we can do there, where we um, offer some sort of bonus or a revenue share or a distribution of rewards or things like that through the the new apps that we build out on the platform essentially.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, yeah, of course. So all of the winery token NFTs will always remain valuable one way or another, and they are going to be used in any future lending and borrowing protocol that uses NFTs as collateral.
Hmm.
This is what the artsy team is doing, of course,
Hmm.
which you've worked together with to have this code.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. You're welcome to have a talk with that team if you want to
Yeah, yeah.
share platforms in any way.
I think we'll be working
Because
together for sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like that's I think that's going to be great because that's going to be multi-chain as well.
Mm.
Um, however, I do think, as with anything, that things will be better if you have multiple platforms doing the same thing.
Hmm.
Because that's then you really get a free market, right? Where
Hmm.
people distinguish themselves in a different way. So it doesn't even need to be the same. Um, but that's a really cool thing. I really like that idea of the lending and borrowing against NFT collateral, and I love the fact that Winery Collection is going to be part of that. It's absolutely awesome. All right. The second question is, can you imagine, reiterate, or elaborate upon other prospective use cases for the Winery Collective NFTs?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I sort of touched on it just briefly before. Initially it is. I mean, essentially, it is the VIP collection of Grape, and then the initial use case was the node distributions, but seeing that they're finished now, we will find other ways to incentivize NFT holders, and there's a few ways we can do it. Obviously, we can distribute some rewards from the presses now that there's more people in there too. We can distribute some rewards from even from Vinium. That's also a possibility, depending on we don't want to dilute. We don't want to have like five different things that all give a small portion of rewards, but and dilute everybody. But at the same time, there are, we. What I'm saying is that we have a lot of different ways that we can incentivize them, especially through things as well like winemaker, which will be ramping up as well, and there'll be a few different ways through that. Even through a royalty share of those NFTs too. So there'll probably be uh, some sort of share through a few different venues in the Grape ecosystem going forward. But we need to work on making it make sense first.
Yeah, it needs to make sense before it
Yeah.
starts. Yeah, that's a good way to go about things. All right, Dico, as a next one, seen on Twitter. Looking forward to hearing more from Only Burns. All right, in the near future, discuss an AMA how it will work with you guys. Minimum bots for the mega buyback, and Burns starts off at 50,000. Um, I'm not sure if this is a question. Do
Uh,
you want to comment on it? This?
yeah, yeah. Well, I'll mention that we'll be doing. We have to organize an AMA with Only Burns, and we'll do that at some point soon to go over all this sort of stuff, how we can work together, and their protocol too, and how it can help us as well. And so yeah, we'll organize that soon, like this week, basically.
Awesome. Moving on to Neat Grape, which is the last question before we enter the live chat, saying, "Hey, loving boyfriend. Now that the node migration is complete, what's the next big ticket on the Grape Finance calendar?"
Damn, man, these names, man.
Yeah, man. It started with Lord Bacon, I think,
Yeah.
some time ago.
But yeah, I mean, I think maybe I touched on it a little bit in the beginning, but we'll. I'm glad that the nodes are done. So now, I technically, the grapes at a position now where there's nothing to kind of like actively manage, which is really good. There's nothing to I need to we need to migrate this. We need to think of a way to solve this issue or things like that. So we're out of a position now, especially after the nodes, where we technically don't have that, which is great. So now we can actually just focus on the future and just moving forward, which is great. So I think one of the main things is obviously going to be winemaker. So we are working on a sort of a whole revamp of the game, and then that will tie very closely into Grape essentially as well, and essentially be part of. I mean, it is part of Grape, but it's its own thing. But also, I think GameFi is a big thing coming forward, and I think Grape is technically branded really well with that, considering it's kind of memey too. It's like a memey, pixelated, fun sort of theme, and that ties in really well with the game. So it'll be very closely tied to Winemaker. But I also mentioned we're working a bit on on relaunching the casino too, and that will also involve Grape, because I think that's a new narrative that's coming up. It's been around for ages, but it's a new narrative that's coming up that is finally getting some traction, because I mean it makes sense. But we'll be revamping that too, with a sort of more Grape focused design, plus multi-chain, plus a lot more different options there. Things like paramutuals too, for price price betting, rather than just like actually gambling, if you know what I mean. So that's will be a cool thing for Grape too. Um, and then down the line, obviously I mentioned the sort of Vinium integration, talking about collateralized stablecoins. That is still, we need to work on technicals with that sort of idea and sort of break that down. Plus, we also need to do a bit more on actually getting Vinium to a point where that also makes sense. So, rolling out the multi-chain first, rolling out, the the token lending initially, before we then focus on, adding a stable coin, a minted stable coin to that too. But that's we'll there's a bit of work to do on that side. So yeah.
All right. Then first, we've got a message from Banders saying, "Hey guys, currently having some issues with my mic. However, we'll be there listening in. If there are any questions directed at me, I will answer in this chat." Neat Grape saying, "Hey, there's been some chat this week about how good the game was at Burning Grape. It'd be exciting to see that Inferno ramp up again." Yeah, of course, really will be. um, all right, and then there's a question. Neat Raisin is asking, "What do you have to say to anyone that says Grape is not going to make it?" First of all, Banders answered that already. I'm going to read it because, well, his mic isn't working. "The market isn't great all around, however, that doesn't change our plans and goals for Grape as a platform. We will adapt and overcome as different aspects present themselves." Right, wait, he's Australian, right? I need to do an Aussie accent. Dedication, you're a Grape is everything. No, I can't do that. We will always be here. We've been working hard the last few months, paying attention to the market around us in order to design and deliver new plans for the platform that will take us ahead as crypto DeFi advances. With that being said, future proofing is a main aspect we have been paying a lot of attention to. I can't give away too much, although maybe LB will expand on that. So, will you, LB, expand on that?
Um, well, look, initially I'll also just mention that we've been around for over a year now. It's quite a long time in DeFi, and we've gone through a
It's
lot
like
in
it's
that
like
time.
20 years or so in normal life.
Yeah, exactly. So we've gone through a lot in that time too. And we've seen a lot of other teams kind of just pack up shop and leave through this as well. So I mean, it kind of just shows straight up that without even saying anything, that we'll just continue to work through things, and that's kind of what we've actually done. So you know that's all you
Yeah.
can actually do anyway. Is it's we can't force things, but what we can do is we can continue to work and listen to the market, and figure out things that make sense on the platform, and develop them and release them, and then continue continue with that sort of cycle of create, get feedback, reiterate that sort of cycle. um, and that's kind of what we're going to do, and that's really it. I mean, we could have packed up shop a long time ago. I mean, like, as I said, a lot of teams have, but we're still here, and that's kind of the end idea, um,
Yeah.
of to answer that question. I mean, but yeah,
And that's also
yeah, no, go
like
please.
that's what you get as an answer for if you ask many successful people is how did you get there? As usually by just, going at it until you're successful. I mean, we've had a really good run in the beginning,
Hmm.
but it was kind of, on a wave of just in general everything being a good run, and then we extended it by being honest and by being a little bit different than everyone else.
Hmm.
Um, and right now we're also being different than most others. I mean, yeah, as you said, many teams have packed up and left, um, and we're not. So I think that this different thing will definitely do something for us. Um, I think if you're saying Grape is not going to make it, I wonder what you mean by making it. I mean, of course, Need Raisin himself is not really saying that, but um, so it's a hypothetical question. But I I think, yeah, what's making it? What do you mean? Is that a 10x? Is that a 20x? Is that what does that mean? Or is it achieving your goals? And as far as I know, or as far as I'm concerned, our goals are also to just have a good platform that we can, that we can invest in, but also, for example, the lending and borrowing, that we can deal with, that we, for example, can invest in BTC and borrow against that, or stuff like that. Um, just being a sturdy and dependable team, I think, is already making it. So, um, yeah, for that, I think we have huge potential, and it's just waiting for the upwind, really. I mean, the X grape and borrowing against that is a great thing. I keep repeating it because I keep meaning it. Um, that's just uh, that's just something that will definitely pay off at some point. I mean, it's an easy play if you have a windfall in another project to go and invest that in or if you have windfall anywhere, to go and invest that into Xscrape and then borrow against it, and see your investment grow easily. That kind of thing works, and we just need some people to actually go and use that. That's all. It's not even they're not even, usually when people saying that, it means, hey, to liquidity, but it's not even that. You just need people who use the platform, the big people who use that. I mean, big wallets. That's all.
Hmm.
And I think that's just a matter of time. Um, all right, moving on. Red Redneck and Eyes thinks that it's not a big showing for the AMA. Yeah, this time, especially on a Monday, isn't really great for everyone. But people look at the
That's why it's
at the
recorded, I
recordings.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's recorded, and that's why we have the AMA questions. People can ask beforehand and can listen to the answer on the recorded AMA. All right. Nick Grape's asking, how's Vinium going on the Arbitrum testnet?
Yeah, it's good. Well, technically, we're actually on the main net now, just with some blue chips, and I mean that will probably go live, as in public live, very soon actually. So yeah, there'll be an announcement for that. But yeah, we're already on the main net, so that's good. And already looking at some of the other chains too, likely BSC and ETH as well. So we'll just keep
Good
powering ahead
stuff.
with that. Yeah.
That's really good stuff. All right. Turco asks, is it at all possible to get the full verbal transcript of AMAs in an easily editable form? I suppose you could ask GPT, or another,
Yeah,
I don't know, some sort of bot that just
I'm sure
listens
there
in.
is one. Yeah, a
Yeah,
bot that does that. Yeah.
and then you can edit out the bot mistakes because they always make mistakes. That's why you don't rely on bots yet. I mean, AI will outperform us, but not yet. Not yet. All right. Neat Grave says, I know the Vinium roadmap is huge and there's so much to do, but apart from going cross-chain, what would you say is the next feature likely to come for the protocol? Leverage yield farming, Vini tokens, more isolated pool tokens, um, lame hillbilly feed pics as collateral, etc. I think all of that.
Yeah, I think the LHB fit picks are definitely number one priority. We're gonna focus on that straight up. Get that
What?
multi-chain.
Why not?
Yeah, but, I mean, what we're actually going to focus on is definitely multi-chain, but obviously the leverage yield farming is probably the number one there. Vinny token will come down the line, just because we probably want to be multi-chain for that already, set up infrastructure-wise, and basically ready to go, because the Vinium token is kind of the incentive token, and so you want to have the platform ready to use so that we can. It's like you have a keep that card in your back pocket for when it makes the most sense to use it. And that also comes around timing with market as well. So we don't want to wait too long, but that will come in a few months, maybe middle of the year. We'll see how we go with that. But leverage yield farming definitely um, is the next sort of thing, alongside the cross chain aspect. And then isolated pools are not too difficult to spin up. They're more so tied to building good partnerships with people that want that there, and that will provide liquidity to, because there's kind of a limitation there is the isolated pools are with tokens that are more risky. Like they have lower liquidity, they're more volatile, they're therefore harder to liquidate. So people are taking on more risk by depositing stable coins and things to borrow in that pool. So we need to work with. But the problem is that if nobody provides the liquidity, then that pool is kind of useless anyway. So we need to obviously work with protocols that would want that feature, and make sure that they're also inclined to provide liquidity in there, so that people can actually use that feature that they want. So, I mean, but that's a thing that
Well,
is not too difficult to spin up, to be honest. So that
yeah, because I think that also markets itself in a way
mhm,
because as soon as a lot of that liquidity is borrowed, the interest shoots up, and as the
mhm,
interest shoots up, it becomes interesting to provide liquidity because well, you get a lot of interest on a stable.
mhm, yeah,
Getting a lot of interest on a stable is always good.
yeah, exactly.
Uh, yeah, so um,
But there's always
what,
a limitation on how much people would put into a riskier pool, even if the APR is very good. You know what I mean? So it's compared to say like the blue chip pools, where you would be more inclined to put larger amounts of your portfolio, your whole portfolio, because the risk is low, even when considering the APR maybe only be like 1-2%. Um, but with the isolated pools, you know you would it would not be advisable to put a large portion of your portfolio in there, obviously, because it's it's a riskier pool, but it's not designed for that, because the isolated pools anyway. I mean, you don't actually need as much capital as you do for the main pools, because you're borrowing a lower liquidity. You're borrowing against a lower liquidity token anyway, so you don't actually need that much in there. So they kind of balance out in that regard too. Um, but yeah, as you mentioned, it works with protocols. Like, protocols would actually want that feature because generally they also have it brings a use case to the token, a good use case, an actual use case, and as well to their community, and they can the treasury is generally the largest holder of the token, so the treasury can offer, you know, uh, can provide the liquidity too, and offer, get a great yield on their stable coins by offering this service to their community. But then they can also put in the native tokens and borrow against them too, and get access to liquidity without having to sell their native token. So there's very good benefits for protocols to do so.
Yeah, definitely. And the neat grape adds that dies like 23% right now for people who deposit. Yeah, that's on the main
Mm.
Vinium market. The isolated markets I just checked, they're still very low APR. I guess people still aren't really utilizing borrowing against X grape. Um, that's okay. You'll get there eventually. Uh, that's fine. Also, by the way, an alarm just went off in the background. That's the air assault alarm that the Dutch
Oh well.
government tests. It tests every month
Ah,
at the
okay.
same time, so
I
it's a
didn't hear it
testing
though.
alarm. Oh well, that's good. I heard it. It was annoying. um. Anyway, I think we are at the end of all of the questions. So as Neat Grape is typing something more, this guy he really should be. Oh, if you test the alarm at the same time every month, that sounds like the perfect time for narrate. Yeah, I know, it really is. But I suppose that there's more going on because we also have this thing where um, if there's really something going on, we get texts to our mobiles. Um, so it's something you can't opt out of. If you're in the Netherlands and something's going on, like for example, there's a big fire and toxic gases are around,
Mhm.
everyone in that area gets text to their mobiles. So
Mm.
yeah, I think if there was really a bombing raid, people would know. At the same time, though, I have no idea where I would need to go because I don't know where the bunkers are. Anyway, do we have anything else to add before we end this AMA about Dutch air raids?
um, are you talking to me or the community, I
Yeah,
guess?
yeah, yeah, that'd be you. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I think that'd be you. Like, do you have any exit, alpha, or whatever? I think you're already saying a lot, but do you? I don't
well,
know any.
I mentioned briefly in the beginning, I guess. But main point drive home is I'm glad the nodes are done. Unfortunately, it's not the best sort of resolution, obviously, but there really wasn't a good resolution to it. But I'm glad that they're you know sorted into the presses. The presses are much more sustainable, and I don't need to worry about them at all. And so that's kind of the nodes are always, for these last few months, have been like a looming thing in the back of my mind. Like, damn, I need to like figure that out. Like, it needs to be like, is there a good way to do this? You know what I mean? But I'm glad that it's done. But also there will be, in saying that, there's some grape as well left in the Phantom House grape flip that we will withdraw during the weekly window. I think tomorrow. That I will also add to notice as well. But we do need to keep some grape in there so that you can actually play the flip. But there is some that we can get out there as well. So they'll also come in tomorrow. So you'll notice
Y- You
a
say
little bit of.
tomorrow, but yeah, that's tomorrow. Oh wait, I need to make use time zones. It's in like 12, like 13 hours or so you can withdraw.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So yeah, so I withdraw and then make LP and deposit into people's presses, into the soda press for people. So you'll notice a little bit more coming through tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm very happy actually that the notes that it's done. I mean, when we released them, people were saying, "Hey, how are these sustainable?" And I think I've asked that question myself as well. It's a difficult thing, right? Because it does a lot of good. Because notes were very popular, and I think they still are. But they always come with a backswing.
Mm-hmm.
Like at the end, people are done investing, and they sort of just claim and they don't work for that. So I'm
Mm.
happy that for now we can just focus on sustainability really and focus on ways to or tokenomics that actually make sense in the longer run.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that we can work towards that. Oh, I'm sorry, my cat keeps jumping on the table. Um, So yeah, that's great. I think if we just focus on that for now, then Grape is going to do great. That's
Mm-hmm.
I have no doubts.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. It's cleared some. It's made the whole ecosystem a bit simpler as well.
Mm.
There's a lot going on, and I think you want to simplify things and focus on the products that are working the best, that people like, and that don't have that are not prone to issues sort of longer term too. So that's what we're doing.
All right, and with that, we're going to end the AMA. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening in. I'm sorry I was late, and next time I'll be there again. Thank you, LB, for starting without me and just for being awesome all year round.
Oh, thank you. Thanks everyone for
And
listening in and all your questions too, as always.
yeah, of course. Thanks to the community for just being there, asking questions, listening to the answers, and you know, just being awesome in general.
Mm.
Bye, everyone.